In today's video, we're going to be chopping up some 12 by 12 pattern paper to create a never-ending accordion book. Stick around for some fun inspiration coming up. Hi, my name is Jenny and welcome to my channel where we share paper crafting tutorials and inspiration. Let's jump right into today's video. So as usual, I was at Michael's, minding my own business, and they had a super sale. They had 12 by 12 scrapbook paper pads for $5.99. So of course I picked up a bunch of them. This is one of them. This is called Book Club. I had some ideas on how to use this to create some fun projects. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to deconstruct the book. So I'm just going to run through this quickly. You get 2 of each design. And there's lots of fun stuff in here. So I'm going to start taking out all these papers and sorting through the different types of paper. So for example, this is a full pattern sheet. This could be cut into strips, but we'll consider this a full pattern sheet along with this full pattern, Make it to something like this. The cut aparts I'm going to put in a separate pile, and if there are any pages that are meant to be like a full 12 by 12, sometimes they have those like layouts that are kind of like this, a little weird where you're not sure what to do with, but I think I can use this. Sometimes they have like circles around the edges, stuff like that. So those types of patterns I will set aside separately. So I'll go ahead and do that first. So I ended up with 3 stacks. I've got all of my patterns. I've got the sort of weird, not sure what to do with, and then all of the cut aparts. So for the cut aparts, I'm going to set those aside. For the weird papers that we're not sure what to do with, I'm also going to set those aside. I'm not sure if I'll be able to use this in my project or not, but we'll find out as we progress. So I'll set those aside. Now, all of the patterns, I have 2 of everything. So my goal here is to separate them into 2 piles, because I only want 1 of each pattern for my project. Okay, so they're separated into 2 piles. Now we could make 2 of this project and give 1 away as a gift and keep 1, or you can just save the patterns for another project. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. Now what I haven't mentioned is that I keep the cardstock that is the cover and the back of these paper pads. These are excellent to use as book covers, and you can cut them up and create some nice stability. So we'll be using both of these pieces, I think, to incorporate into our finished project. So I'll set that aside as well. I've set a lot of stuff aside so far, but don't worry, we're going to come back to it. So first things first, I have all of these papers. I have 15 sheets so far. And let's see how this goes, and we'll see if I need some more or if this is going to be enough. So I'm going to start by getting ready to cut these down. I need to cut these down to 9 inches. So I'm going to cut off 3 inches off the bottom of every page. So I have a nice heavy duty trimmer here. And this is a Tim Holtz rotary trimmer, so it's going to be able to cut through several of these sheets of paper at once. So I've got 3 sheets. I'm going to cut them down to 9 inches. And I'm going to keep these scraps. So I'll do that to all 15 of my sheets. All right, so now we have our sheets cut and we have our strips. We're going to use these too, so don't worry about that. Let's set those aside. And now I'm going to start scoring. So I'm going to grab my scoreboard. Across the 12-inch side, I'm going to score every piece at 6 inches. So we have all of our pieces scored. And now I'm going to crease all of the folds. I'm going to use a bone folder for that. So where I scored down the center, I'm going to fold away from that score. And don't worry about if the paper is not perfect. And if you get off a little bit, I'm not worried about that. If you find that your score is off and you don't want it to be, you can always use your scoreboard and sort of push those two edges up and then train that paper to go exactly where you want it to be. Just a little quick tip to make sure that your paper is nice and straight. But this project will be very forgiving. It's not going to be a huge issue if you have a little bit of white showing. So at this stage, we have 15 sheets of paper folded in half that measure 6 by 9 inches and opens up like that. So here comes the fun part. I'm going to take my pages and alternate them, and the goal here is to cover up that white backing on this paper. If you have double-sided paper, I don't think that you want to use it for this particular project, because I feel like covering up this side of the paper would sort of defeat the whole purpose of having double-sided paper. This project is geared towards those single-sided patterns. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. First thing, I'll take my first page and I'll take my second page and I'll turn them against each other, and I'll lay one like this and one like this. Okay, and then I'll open that flap up and I'll insert another one like this and fold it. And then take the next one, put it here like this and fold it. Open up here and insert and fold. And I will continue doing that for all of my pages until they're all inserted into each other. All right, so now we have all of our pages stacked together, and it looks a little something like this. Okay, now I'm gonna glue everything together. So you can glue them as you're putting them together. I just wanted to show you how I built the pages before I glued it all down. So I'm just going to use glue stick. You can use whatever you have, double-sided tape. I find glue stick is the easiest method for me anyways, and it's quick. So I just want to get the edges and the seam, a little bit in the middle. It doesn't have to be like the most perfect. And I'll line up that page and make sure that it's inserted nice and tight. There we go. So our first page is glued in. Okay, flip the page and do the same thing on this side. Around the edges and a little bit in the middle. Close the page. Make sure it's all lined up. The great thing about glue stick for this project is that it's forgiving and you have time to sort of wiggle and maneuver it around where you want it to be. I don't want my book to get crooked as I stack all these pages, so I want to make sure that everything is nice and straight. And I can tell already that it's not. So I'm going to open up this first page, and I was going to open it. Now I'm not. I'm just going to glue it back down. You could just stay there. Don't worry about that one. Okay, we're going to leave that as is. First page is a little wonky, but we'll try to fix that as we go. Okay, so there we go. And then continue on. Glue around the outside and in the middle. Get our next page, line that up. I kind of like it better doing it like this and then making sure that they're stacked properly. And I'll continue doing that for the rest of the pages until they're all glued together. So I'll keep working on that, and then we'll come back together when this is all put together. All right, so all my pages are glued together, and I'm going to show you something super cool. Check this out. So we have this really cool accordion. Okay. And we have a book. And we can just flip through, and then we can keep going. Look at that. And you see every one of those beautiful pattern papers with no white space. We're going to deal with this. So that's the idea behind this. So we have this really cool book that can open up for us to work in. And then we're done. We can close it up. And we get full use of that pattern paper. And it's nice and sturdy because the pages are glued together. So it's already nice, they're sturdy cardstock. So when we stack them, we get, double the sturdiness. All right, so let's move on to the next step here. We're going to make the covers for the book because this is fairly flimsy at this point. We don't want it to be flimsy. We're going to pull in these pieces to create covers for our book. So what I'm going to do is get rid of all this glue. So I just cleaned up the glue off the edge of this. So I'm going to need a piece at least 6 by 9, maybe just a little bit bigger to make sure that it covers the whole book. So let's try 6 1/4 by 9 1/4 and see what that looks like. Let's see. We have just a little bit on both sides, and we can center our book with a little bit on each edge. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to use the back piece to do the same thing. So we need a piece that measures 6 1/4 by 9 1/4. All right, so first I need to cover these completely. And this is a good place to use up our scraps, and it will tie into the book very nicely. So what we can do is just stack our strips, however you want to do it. This is going to be the inside of the book. So I think we're going to need, we're missing a little tiny bit. We're just going to have to cut stuff up to make it fit. So you could also use washi tape too. Let's see if I have any washi tape that will match. It kind of goes with it. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my glue stick and cover this whole piece with my glue. Again, you can use, other methods if you like. I think when this part is dry, I'll sew the cover so that it stays nice and sturdy and stays intact. So if you don't want to sew, then use a stronger glue here. I think that would be wise. Okay, so one strip. And then put another strip on the top here. 2 strips. Okay, and then one for the middle. Since I have lots of pink, I'm going to change up for something else. So we'll put this kind of evenly spaced in between the two. And then I'm going to take my washi tape and apply washi tape over those gaps. There we go. And I'll trim all this excess off in just a minute. Okay. So now I can trim off this excess. Keep these scraps. So there we go. We have an inside cover now. I really love the way that looks. I almost want that to be the front. I have an idea. I'm going to keep this as the front. I really love the way this looks. So I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to take my washi tape and I'm going to apply a strip all the way down. I'm going to take my glue. Sorry, this isn't washi tape. This is glue. So I'm going to apply my glue stick down the edge and add my washi tape here right across the edge of that white cardstock. So I'll do that all the way around. I think that'll look nice. I'm just winging this, guys. I haven't made this before. I had an idea and I was playing around with some scrap pieces of paper, and then I decided to film. So here we are. So there's my front cover, the inside. I'm going to do the same thing to the second piece that we have for the back cover. I'll take them both to my sewing machine, and then we'll come right back and start putting everything together. I've sewn these pieces together. I love the way that a stitch looks in cardstock, and it helps hold all these sort of pieces together. Okay, so we have a front and we have a back and we have our book. So now it's time to put all of this together. So I need to apply glue all over the first page. I'm going to use my double-sided tape and my glue stick. Hopefully this will be strong enough. If it comes apart, I can always glue it back together later. But just so you get the idea, if you don't want to worry about that, use something that's good and strong here. I'm just going to use my double-sided tape and my glue stick. I'll apply my glue stick right over top of that double-sided tape, getting right to the edges. And now I want to center this. I want to make sure that my cover is upright. I wanted this one to be the cover. So I'm going to center this as best as I can. I think that's pretty good. And press that in. And don't worry about this white space. We're going to cover that up. There we go. Front cover attached. And now let's get the back cover on. Doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to cover this in double-sided tape and glue stick and stick it to my cover. Now when I'm lining this one up, I'm going to use the whole book and the front cover to make sure that it's lined up evenly. It's probably not going to be perfect and not going to be like perfectly evenly spaced around the back, but I want it to line up with the front cover so that it's, all the same size. And press that in, and there we go. Our book is all put together now. Look at that. Oh, I love it. It's so pretty. So the scraps that we had left from the front page, I'm going to use those to cover inside of here. So I just have these offcuts. I'll take away that washi tape, and I'm going to cover up the white page just like the front, and I'll use my washi tape once again to fill in those gaps. Okay, now we have our front cover done. Perfect. Okay, now if you wanted, you could cover this up with washi tape, but I'm going to leave it. It looks good just like that. And we'll go to the back page and do the same thing with the rest of these scraps. And there we go. We have the construction of our book complete. And there's just so many possibilities for filling this up with ephemera and pockets and all kinds of fun stuff. And it opens on both sides. It's like a never-ending book. So much fun. All right, let's use up some of our scraps to decorate this really fun book. All right, so here's where we are. We've got these strips left. We have our book, and we have some cut aparts. Actually, that goes to a different paper pad. So we have these cut aparts. And then we have this 12 by 12 that we're not sure what to do with. So first things first, I went ahead and cut out all of the cut aparts so that I could use them to fill up my book. So we have a bunch of little cards and note spots. And here's a blank card, some places to write down, books to read, and a whole bunch of bookmarks. These are really fun. They could be trimmed out a little bit more. I just didn't get a chance to trim them out. I left the little background there. And then some more little book club related notes. And then these two large sheets of like writing paper. So we're going to do a little bit of decorating. I won't keep you here too long. I won't show everything in the video. I'll just give you a couple of ideas on how you can incorporate these strips into your book along with some of the ephemera. All right, so I'd like to take one of my cut aparts and put it on the front as like a book cover. So I like this one, Books Are Pure Magic. Just this little piece. I'm just going to trim this out and mat it with some white cardstock. Actually, we could use some foam squares for that. Maybe I'll pop these up on some foam squares. I think that looks good right about there. I actually really like the way that looks. All right, so this is a good spot. We can create a pocket. So let's see, I'll just cut about there. And like that. Apply some adhesive on the top, bottom, and side. Actually, top, bottom, and side, not the top. And we'll get the first pocket loaded up into our book. Okay, and then I'll take some of the cut aparts, like this one, for example, and I'll put that in the first pocket. Super cute. I love that. So that's one way, little pocket with one of the cut aparts. Okay, now let's come up with another way. Let's see here. We could take one of these large strips. I don't know, we could turn it into a belly band. Even though the writing is going this way, we could still do it like this. You could be a little bit more precise and measure, but I'm not really worried about that. I just want to get these little pieces into my book, and there's really no rhyme or reason. You just want to go ahead and use up that ephemera, cut things up, have some fun, decorate it, and you'll have this beautiful sort of library book where you can keep notes and journals about the books you've read. And also, it's just a really fun paper craft. You know, a lot of the paper crafts I do, I make them because I enjoy paper crafting, and I don't always have, you know, a use for the stuff that I make, but I had fun making it, so that counts for something. So I'll just pop this on here, sort of in the center, press in that adhesive, and then we have a little tuck spot where we can tuck in, let's say, one of our bookmarks and one of our notes to be read. We'll just stick those right in there like that. Okay, and now you don't have to fill every page, but you could if you wanted to. You could, you know, stick something like this right down to the page. As a matter of fact, I'll do that. I'll put one of these little cards right into the book. I'm going to leave the side open, so if I wanted to, I could stick something inside of it, a little envelope or note or something. So I'll pop this right into my book. And In case there's a book that I wanted to read, I'll have a little bookmark for it. And stick that right in there. So these are just some really fun ways to use up, some of those pockets. And actually we can make some tags. I wanted to save these ones because they're non-directional. So I wanted to make some tags with these ones. So I'm gonna just fold these papers in half. Cut here like this. Cut across the top to release those papers. And then I'm going to take the pieces and pop them over top of each other. And it'll give us a nice little guide where to cut the corners away so that we have even and symmetrical tags. So we'll do it to this one too. And I just want to fix that. It's a little crooked, but there we go. So now I have 4 tags that are the exact same measurement with nice even tag edges. Okay. So I'm going to put this one that says Literary Lady. I'm going to put this, I think I'll put it in the corner, kind of like this, and create a corner tuck. So I'll put adhesive on one side and the bottom. And here we go. Pop that in. And now we can pop one of our pretty little tags in there. Or in this case, 2 pretty little tags. Wonderful. Actually, we're just going to do 1 pretty tag, and I'll add in a bookmark. Perfect. So there's a couple of ideas. You have a pocket, you have a belly band, you have a sort of tuck spot, another tuck spot, make some tags. And what's great about this book is that as it fills up, it will extend and there won't be any pressure on like the spine because there really isn't one. So you can fill up this book and it can be nice and chunky and it'll just kind of grow with you. So that's kind of fun. So I'm going to show you one more item that I want to create, and then we'll call this done for now, and I can just play around and fill up the rest of my book with my cut aparts and ephemera. So before we go, I want to show you what I decided to do with this sheet. Now my camera keeps autofocusing, so hopefully that will fix it. So I'm just putting a tag here so that the camera doesn't autofocus on the blank space here. So oftentimes you'll find in scrapbook papers these large sort of sheets that you're not sure what to do with. A lot of times they'll have like images in the corners like so, or like a wreath around, or like this one, there's just something on the bottom border. So you could just go ahead and cut this out and create a nice belly band or pocket or something inside of your journals. You can also create library cards, and I'm going to show you how to do that because this is the perfect project, of course, for a library card. So what I'm going to do is first cut this down to 4 inches. Is it 4 inches? Yeah, 4 inches. I'm going to cut down to 4 inches. Okay, so take that first, 4 inches, and then I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'll take my scoreboard, and I'm going to score at the edge of this pattern here. So it becomes like 8 3/4. So I'm going to score that first and then flip it over. So you have a little something that looks like this. And then we're going to fold the bottom of the pocket up. So it kind of looks like this. Okay. So it's about 4 3/4 by 4 inches wide. Now, while it's like this in my scoreboard, I'm going to score at 1/2 inch on this side. I'm going to turn it around and do 1/2 inch on this side. Okay, so I'm going to open it up. And on those 1/2 inch score lines, we're going to come in and we're going to cut away We're going to come in and cut all of this away except the piece on the bottom flip up. So I'm just going to fold it in half. I'm going to follow down the score line to where this score line is and cut that away. And I'll do the same thing on this side. Just going to follow that score mark and cut that away. Okay, so now I have something that kind of looks like this. Looks a little weird, but what we're going to do is fold this and glue this down so that stays in place. Glue that down. And then I'm going to take this part and fold it and wrap it around and wrap it around. Okay. Now, because I made it a little bit bigger, it should fit this to be read perfectly. Perfect. Okay. So some finishing touches here. I'm going to round the corners on my library pocket, and I'm going to glue that right down to the front. And I'll cut off the excess. And cut. And cut. Actually, I also forgot to glue this together. Let's run some double-sided adhesive here, and here, and here, and here. And now we have a library pocket. Super cute. Now I'm going to add this right into my book. I'll put some double-sided adhesive on the back, and this will be the last little piece of ephemera that I add to my book for today. Alrighty, well, let's find a spot for this guy. I like it here. Sort of stands out nicely. There we go, read all night. And I'm going to put my little to be read card inside of there. Maybe a bookmark with it. Meet me at the library. Ooh, I like this one. Read all night. That kind of goes with that. I'm gonna meet me at the library. That one's going in there. All right. So that's it for our 12 by 12 chop it up into an accordion never-ending book. I hope that you enjoyed today's tutorial and had some fun and got some inspiration for chopping up some of your 12 by 12 pattern papers. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. I'd love to have you along my paper crafting journey. Click that like button if you enjoyed today's content. And leave me a comment down below if there's anything that you enjoyed about today's video or anything else that you'd like to see on my YouTube channel. Thanks so much for joining me. Have yourself a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!